This is Coach Lee, and you're listening to The Door Report.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't, look, I have trouble even saying to myself, my own head, the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly.
You know, that's a guy I'd die for, clearly, and, you know, I'd go out there every play and die for him if I had to over and over again.
Welcome back into The Door Report, and welcome into episode 329 on a hot and humid Tuesday evening, August 19th, 2025. I'm Will Byrum, joined as always by my co-host Trevor Hulan, aka Hack Squat, Jim Duggan. Here at The Door Report, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Items include NFL team packs, graded cards, individual cards, and more. Shipping is always fast and free. We also have an affiliate sponsor, which I've read the last couple times, and I'm currently rocking their polo. That is Roback. Check out the polo. This is the Vanderbilt Game Day polo. Not part of the ad. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never had a Roback item in my closet before. Got this in. Immediately went online and ordered the other Vanderbilt polo. It is the most comfortable polo I've ever worn. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. A little expensive. I'm not going to lie to you. The first item that I bought that's been a little expensive, and I said, damn, that's worth every penny. This thing is very comfortable. But the ad for Roback Activewear. There is only one way to describe Roback. Best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Roback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Emphasis on comfortable. Roback has released so many items within their newly licensed Game Day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and quarter zip designs for some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else in the market is pairing these levels of custom designs with the quality of activewear. Roback's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They're both super comfortable, have an elastic waistband and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move. Roback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. You can use code VAN20, that is VAN20, no spaces, on roback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers. That's spelled Roback, ROBACK.com for 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with code VAN20. That is VAN20, no spaces. Cannot emphasize enough, actually, genuinely shocked at how comfortable this polo is. Just reiterating that. Unbelievably comfortable, Trevor.
The dichotomy of TDR, and that I do have many Vanderbilt polos. But you're more of a polo guy, and I am a very adamant jersey wearer. So
I'm a fan of jerseys.
You just don't like wearing jerseys personally.
I rocked a ton of jerseys in college. I'm a huge throwback jersey guy. Like if I had a Jay Cutler jersey and Earl Bennett jersey, I'm rocking that all day. Jordan Matthews. I'm not a jersey guy as I've gotten older. I just don't rock near as many jerseys. I have a Steve McNair jersey I rock on Titans game days that's seen much better days. It's about to go in the trash. It's splitting at the seams, but I'm not anti-jersey. Some people are anti-jersey.
Yeah.
That's not me.
I'm just ready for Vanderbilt to re-release the Pick a Player NIL jerseys at the bookstore. Why the Vanderbilt bookstore has not released those yet whenever football starts in little over a week is bizarre to me. I want to get a couple other players. I called the Vanderbilt bookstore, asked them when that would be available. They said it is not available right now, but it should be available online through the bookstore whenever football season starts. You would think that you want people to buy them before football season so that people can wear them to the football games. But alas, I am not in charge of the Vanderbilt bookstore.
We have not talked about this. I did not know you were going to bring this up in the intro. We keep forgetting to bring it up. Absolute fumble
Uh-huh.
I cannot believe they do not have jerseys in stock
Yeah.
for Vanderbilt. That is horrific.
Yeah.
Like
They
whoever-
have just the blank replica with no name on the back, but fans want to wear a jersey that says Pavia on the back.
Especially when for the first time ever, Vanderbilt has a star on the roster in Diego Pavia. And also you could add in Eli Stowers, and they don't have them available.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody make it make sense to me, whoever is in charge of the Vanderbilt bookstore and getting those in stock. Make it make sense to me. Somebody give me a valid reason how you screwed up this badly. It's pathetic.
And also, it's not like it's difficult. It is a black jersey with the gold V sewn in on it. And you just take screen printed numbers and iron them on along with the name. You can go to Nashville SC games. I didn't know this. You can go to Nashville SC games, buy a blank replica jersey, and for an additional $20, get any name or number you want put on it in the store within 10 minutes. How is this not a thing at the Vanderbilt bookstore? Anybody can do it. So I'm just having to resort back to like the old days, purchasing jerseys off of DHgate. I have a Mason Romiller jersey on the way. I'm also about to cop a Richie Hoskins jersey as well.
White boy Rich.
To add to the collection. The Piston Pavia jersey will be retired as that has been autographed. But I would love to get an NIL Pavia jersey.
We got to get the Piston Pavia framed.
We do. Yeah.
That needs to be framed and behind us. That's a beauty.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to emphasize that's bad.
Yeah.
There's no sugarcoating. That's awful by Vanderbilt's ad.
You can do it for basketball. If you go on the Vanderbilt bookstore right now, you can do a pick a player for basketball. Basketball doesn't start till November. Football season is a little over a week away, and you cannot get a Diego Pavia football jersey at the bookstore.
Even as the admin and the management seems to have taken a lot of steps forward recently, they still regress in certain aspects. You're an SEC program, act like an SEC program. Maybe there are some other schools that are having that same issue. I actually don't know. I'm not aware of it.
I doubt it.
I really doubt it. This feels like a Vanderbilt mess up, like the classic same old Vanderbilt that we haven't said too much lately. So get your shit together, bookstore. But we have a locked and loaded episode 329 here. Finally, the season preview and predictions. We are going to be joined by former Vanderbilt offensive lineman and tight end legend Blake Fromang once again to preview the Vanderbilt football season. We're going to get his predictions as well. Last year, Blake was by far the highest on this Vanderbilt Commodore football team. I think he was 8-4.
He was only one win off.
Yeah, I think he had 8 wins on the season. Trevor, what did you predict last season?
I think I was 5-7.
I was 5-7.
No, I think I had us going bowling. I think I had us 7-5.
Yeah,
actually.
I think I went.
I had
back
us
and
going
watched.
7-5. I think
I was 4-8 or 5-7. I was wrong. Wet blanket will strikes again. So hopefully, actually, once everybody hears my prediction, I'm 1 or 2 games off. That would be great. I would love to be under on the win total of what's real.
I think too. I think comparing yourself to Blake and I, you will certainly be the wet blanket, even if your prediction is somewhat positive even for your standards.
Yeah, for my standards, I think my prediction, I've got it locked in. It's not changing. I almost shuffled it around today, and I said, no, you've had the same record prediction for weeks now. I don't think mine's a negative record prediction at all. I think mine's very realistic. Some people will say it's too optimistic. Some people say it's too pessimistic. I think it's right where it should be, but we'll see. I think you guys are going to be a little more positive than me, but we will find out during segment 1 of episode 329. Anything else you want to add in this intro here before we get to segment 1 and joined by Blake?
I've missed my boy Blake. Excited to see his beautiful face once again.
We are excited to have Blake's beautiful face gracing TDR screen. But before we get into all that and much more, we are now a part of the On3 Publisher Network. Visit thedoreport.com today and subscribe to a monthly or annual premium membership and support TDR. You get access to premium content as well as TDR's premium message board behind closed doors. If you sign up today, it is just $1 to join with an annual membership. And alongside that annual membership to On3, you also get 1 year of free access to The Athletic. That is a hell of a deal, as we have said in every single intro, and a hell of a deal. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes. It's now time for segment 1.
Lizard, 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 lizard.
Welcome back into episode 329 of the Door Report, and welcome into segment 1. We are joined by TDR's alleged attorney and former Vanderbilt offensive lineman and tight end legend, Blake Fromang, once again blessing us with his presence for another season preview and season prediction. Blake, thank you for joining in that beautiful, beautiful t-shirt.
Thank you guys for having me. Let's get into it. Got some thoughts.
Straight shooter. I
Straight
love
shooter.
it.
So before we dive into the season preview, we're going to be going game by game, every single game on the Commodores schedule. We're each going to give our win-loss predictions, and then everybody can criticize it from there. But Blake, I think people have kind of heard enough about what me and Trevor think. What's your overall feeling about this Vanderbilt season before we dive in?
For the first time in a long time, I'm excited, and I feel right to be excited. You know, it's not just me excited football season's back. I think we're going to have a good year. You know, Barton and Clark and Kendall and all those guys there primed it up. They got a good team. They got depth on it, and I think we're primed to make a run.
Blake, I'm going to ask you to lean a little bit more into the mic, just the slightest bit more, so that you're not a different volume level than me and Trevor, because I have a feeling we're going to come across a little loudly on the recording. But to start out here, Vanderbilt right now, it's actually jumped up a little bit. So all of these over-unders and odds are going to be per BetMGM, as On3 has some type of partnership with BetMGM that was communicated to us. So I've had to utilize BetMGM. All right, now that I've said that, that's all I can say. So I've had to utilize MGM. But Vanderbilt's win over-under is now at 5.5 wins. Originally, it was at 4.5. Granted, it was the over on that was at -170, I believe, at one point, or -200. Now Vanderbilt is an over-under at 5.5, with the over sitting at, I believe, +130. The last time I checked. So when you hear the over-under win total on teams, there is big differences between teams that both have over under 7.5. There are huge differences in how Vegas views those teams and what their actual win total is going to be. So just wanted to get that out there early. So Vanderbilt over under 5.5 wins. We will see which side me, Trevor, and Blake fall on. I have a feeling where we're all going to fall on that over under number. Don't want to spoil anything. But we have first up on the docket a little bit of a different way to open the season for the. What are you laughing at?
The docket. Blake gave a look.
Okay.
No, you said it right. That's right. That was right.
The lawyer talk.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just locked in with Blake, dude.
Just staring him down through the computer screen. Week 1, Vanderbilt at home against FCS Charleston Southern. I have all of these games rated on 1 through 12 of winnability, so I'll throw that in as well. That's just my own personal ranking. Charleston Southern, as far as winnability for me, number 1 on that list. FCS Charleston Southern went 1-11 last season. I want to repeat that. Charleston Southern went 1-11. They did have a few close games thrown in there. I think they lost to Tennessee Tech 28-23. Tennessee Tech was pretty good last season. But for reference, Alcorn State, who we all saw play against Vanderbilt last season, and a lot of fans that are, damn, that was a terrible team that Vanderbilt played from the FCS level. That's not true. Alcorn State was not a terrible FCS team. They were 6-6 overall in the season, and I believe 5-3 in conference. Alcorn State was a very average to above average FCS team. So Charleston Southern 1-11. I also heard some discussion in the press box. I think it was from fellow insider on a rival site, Vandy 24/7's Robbie Weinstein, who said that Charleston Southern was transitioning offenses this offseason. I have not dug into that. Don't know if it's true. I think before they ran more of a traditional triple option, and now they're transitioning to a traditional college offense. So not a good team last year. Transitioning offenses. Guys, how are we feeling about week 1 against Charleston Southern? We'll have a full preview going into that game next week.
There's no need to spend a lot of time on Charleston Southern. This is going to be an absolute drubbing. Doors on top. Going to drag their nuts all over Charleston Southern. It's not going to be close. Doors by 1 billion over the Bucks.
I got easy win here. I think we're going to win handily. Things I want to look for is I don't want Beck, to open up the playbook. I just want there to be clean execution across the board. Mostly the thing I really want to see is how the offensive line plays together. Listen, I don't want all the trick plays and Hail Marys and all that stuff. I don't want that out on film for all the other teams to see. But one thing, if I'm watching that and I want to look for is how well the offensive line is executing. That's one. And two, our defensive line should run roughshod over them. So I think if, in terms of the play callings, I don't think Beck's going to get in his bag on this one. But if you're looking for something to watch there, I would look at the offensive and defensive lines because, they should have a good game. And that's something that's going to, serve as somewhat of a barometer for how I think they're going to be this season because they got to come out firing on both sides of the ball there.
Yeah, exactly what Blake said on my end. I'm looking at the trenches. I'm looking for domination in the trenches. I really think with this Charleston Southern game, as far as positive takeaways, of course, if they go in and win by 40 or 50 points, you're going to be feeling good. But I really think you can only have negative takeaways, really, from this Charleston Southern game. I think if you see the offensive line struggle, I think if you see the defensive line struggle, then that's a time to kind of be like, okay, there might be some struggles in the future on this team, but I fully expect them to go out and dominate Charleston Southern. So that's a win in my book. All three of us, shockingly, I know, have Vanderbilt starting out 1-0. That line has actually been released. Vanderbilt is a 36.5-point favorite against Charleston Southern. So it sounds like none of us will be taking that money line. For Charleston Southern, I think that's right about where the line should be. With Vanderbilt's offense, I know they beat Alcorn State. What was the final score? 55-3.
It was something like that.
But with Vanderbilt's offense, I think they're going to show even less on the offensive side of the ball because they don't have previous games against Power 4 competition prior to that game. So it's going to be very vanilla, very ball control. And I think overall it'll be a very slow pace of play game. Vanderbilt winning by a large margin. Moving on to when things start to get a little more interesting. Week 2, September 6th, Vanderbilt takes on Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Virginia Tech's over-under win total on the season, over 6.5 at plus 130. A little bit of juice on that one. Last year, Virginia Tech went a disappointing 6-7. Prior to the season, which has not gotten enough attention because Vanderbilt knocked the hype train completely off the rails, this Virginia Tech team had some real dark horse talk about competing with Clemson in the ACC and possibly being a full dark horse team to even make the college football playoff. That did not materialize. Big expectations that fell short. A lot of losses on the offensive side of the ball for Virginia Tech, even though their quarterback, Kyron Drones, is back. They lost their superstar running back, Tootin. He was the engine that made that offense go. He is gone. They also lost multiple key wide receivers on the outside. I did not write down the names. I wish I would have. They also lost their best offensive lineman and offensive tackle that transferred to Auburn. Should be a tough game on the road in a tough environment, but by no means an unwinnable game. Blake, Trevor, what are you guys thinking about this one?
God forbid I doubt the doors. I have this as a win. I think Vanderbilt goes into Blacksburg and gets the win. Hot take, I don't think it's a particularly close game. I think Vanderbilt wins handily. I always mess up that word. But I think Vanderbilt wins by a substantial margin. Lost Bayshawn Tootin. Like you said, he was the engine that made them run. Kyron Drones is not a good quarterback, despite what every Virginia Tech fan was bombarding our Twitter account with last year. He's not good. I think, hey, God love his soul, anchor down. Brent Pry, I think he gets fired this year. I will say, I do think this is a win. I think Vanderbilt fans are hyping up Blacksburg a little too much. It's like, oh, man, it's going to be a tough place to go. Yeah, it might be tough, but it's like, this is also the same team that has been to LSU at night, that has been to Neyland, that has been to some of these guys on here have been to Georgia, Florida. They played in SEC road environments. I don't think Blacksburg is going to be difficult for them to handle whatsoever. I think that Vanderbilt is a much better football team. I think Vanderbilt wins by a substantial margin. I'm going to say 2 possessions. I think Vanderbilt wins by 2 possessions.
Blake, are you as confident as Trevor?
I was kind of iffy on it, but then I just looked something up. Do you know who Virginia Tech plays week 1?
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Great talking point, Blake.
Yep.
I wasn't, I was kind of wondering what the vibe's going to be like for Virginia Tech coming into our game. Do they got an easy start like us? They're going against arguably one of the top, I'd say, SEC teams talent wise to start the year off. Now, I'm not sure if that game, where is it? It's a neutral
It's in
site game.
Atlanta.
So that's actually a Sunday game. So Vanderbilt fans are going to get to watch their week 2 and week 3 opponents without having to miss any other college football.
And Virginia Tech will be coming off a short week. I believe that game is in Atlanta.
It is. It is. So, okay. So they're coming off a short week playing South Carolina. Yeah, I'm giving us it. I think we're going to win that game. I'll take us by 10.
Let's go.
Virginia Tech's always got guys. Here's what I'll say. Virginia Tech's one of those schools, even in the down year, they always got some guys no matter what. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I think we got him by 10. But I think it'll be a tough game, especially if they're licking their wounds out after South Carolina. It depends on, what type of game that South Carolina game is. They could break Virginia Tech's spirit and they could say, oh my God, we got the rest of the year to play, or they could bounce back. I don't know. I think South Carolina is going to beat them handily week 1. And I think we're going to have a test week 2, but I got us by 10.
Yeah, I think this is a game that's a true barometer for how the rest of the season is going to go. I actually had this one as much more of a complete coin flip prior to me really digging in. I think Virginia Tech lost quite a bit on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think Drones is going to be able to function that well with a slightly worse offensive line, a worse running game, and worse receivers. I think Virginia Tech still has guys, like what Blake said. They're by no means just a rollover win or anything along those lines, but they're coming off a short week. Vanderbilt's a team you need a full week to prepare for with the offense Tim Beck runs. I think Vanderbilt wins this one. I don't know if I'm confident saying that it's a double-digit win or multi-possession win, but I think Vanderbilt wins this one. They're a better team. I'm putting this one as a win. We both have them starting 2-0. But that Virginia Tech game, I have it as the 5th most winnable game on this schedule. So for Vanderbilt to get to where they want to go, this is a must-win game. This is kind of where I've had to sit as a big quotations member of the media and then also a fan is if Vanderbilt doesn't beat Virginia Tech in week 2, then this team is simply not as good as they think they are or Vanderbilt fans expected them to be. This is a game that if Vanderbilt is improved in the way that they say they are improved, and if they truly feel that, they should go in and be able to beat a very mid-level ACC team, even if it is on the road. Now, on the road does scare me just a little bit, but I'm still going with a win. So we both have them starting 2-0 on the year. After that, Vanderbilt takes on ranked preseason, the number 13 South Carolina Gamecocks on the road. South Carolina will be coming off, of course, week 1. They play Virginia Tech. Week 2, I believe they play South Carolina State. And then they take on Vanderbilt. South Carolina's over-under win total in the year. Surprisingly low to me, actually, when I looked this up. I had to double-check and make sure it was right. 7.5 wins on the over, and that is juiced to plus 150 on the season for South Carolina. So Vegas, even though they do have a tough schedule, is not super high on the South Carolina Gamecocks. South Carolina went 9-4 last season. They lost key pieces on both offense and defense. Rocket Sanders is gone. Lenora Sellers is back. Faison, is that how you pronounce it?
Rasul Faison.
Rasul Faison. Still no official ruling from the NCAA on his eligibility.
And they play football in a little over a week.
Just the fact that the NCAA hasn't ruled either way is
It's
crazy.
a shame. It's a shame.
It's a shame that he's still up in the air. Now, the latest, I was just reading an article on Yahoo Sports earlier today. I think at this point it's been posted 10 hours ago. That some rulings for a UCLA receiver and a USC offensive lineman, I believe, were the two, did not go in the favor of those players. So it does not look good for Faison's eligibility. That is a huge blow to the South Carolina offense if he is not eligible.
Well, and before we get into this, Blake will be a good person. I've talked to some people about Rasul Faison, and apparently the circuit court in which this is being ruled on has ruled in the NCAA's favor every single time this has been brought up. So it seems as though the way it's been told to me is there is a precedent that this will not go in Rasul Faison's favor.
And then I think I already mentioned it, but star of any given Saturday, Lenora Sellers is back very talented quarterback. And if you have a talented quarterback, you have a chance. South Carolina has a lot of talent across that roster. I don't want to de-emphasize that, but not having Faison after the departure of Rocket Sanders is going to be tough on that offense. So Trevor, Blake, what do we got for this one?
Yeah, I'm not a South Carolina truther whatsoever. I actually think that 7.5 is pretty fair. South Carolina lost a lot, like almost their entire defense except for Dylan Stewart. They lost so much on a really, really good defense. I think not having Rocket Sanders is going to hurt them. And then, of course, as we've stated, Razul Faison, his eligibility is up in the air. Is he going to be able to play college ball this year, or is he going to have to declare as a free agent with the NFL? We don't know. South Carolina doesn't know. With that being said, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Vanderbilt could put together a 2019 LSU type team. South Carolina could put together JV kids from a local middle school, and they would beat Vanderbilt. It's not about talent. It's not about coaching. There is a legitimate witch somewhere in New Orleans, in Europe, Africa, wherever she has put a curse on the Vanderbilt Commodores, and Vanderbilt will never, ever, ever beat South Carolina. So I'm going with my first loss of the season. I think Vanderbilt loses to South Carolina, not because they're not as talented, not because I think South Carolina is that good. Vanderbilt will simply never, ever, 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 ever beat South Carolina.
So Trevor is negative on the Gamecocks more than a lot of even national media members are, but still has it as a loss. Blake, what do you got for the South Carolina game on the road?
Any other year, I'm picking South Carolina to win, but I think with the depth pieces we have, we can go late in games and get some things done. Knowing our luck, I forget the player's name you're talking about with eligibility issues. Knowing our luck, he's going to come back ready to go game day and eligible. But, at some point we got to beat these guys. I think I like our depth on both sides of the ball. We're not just one deep, everywhere anymore. So I think if Clark's going to do it, this is the team to do it. And if I'm wrong here, I'm wrong here. You can dance on my grave and laugh at me. But at some point, you got to believe we're going to win this game. And I think this year's the year.
Turn me up, Blake. Turn me up.
Blake, you're the side of my brain that wants to predict it so bad. Like, that's my exact thought process is curses are meant to be broken. Streaks are meant to be broken. If Vanderbilt is ever going to beat South Carolina, this kind of feels like the year that it should happen with the consolidated talent at Vanderbilt, the turnover at South Carolina that's just kind of being glazed over, for lack of a better term. That said, South Carolina was the only team legitimately last year that Vanderbilt got dominated by. They lost 28-7. The gap between Vanderbilt and South Carolina seems to be wider than the talent gap actually is. So I'm going with a loss. Until they prove to me they can actually beat South Carolina, I'll believe I'll never see another victory over South Carolina for the remainder of my life.
Dude, we're 28 years old. The last time Vanderbilt beat South Carolina, we were 11 years old. We were 11. That's insane.
At some point, it's got to end, but until I actually see it end, you'll never – because I think I actually predicted Vanderbilt to beat South Carolina last year in our preview.
I think you did.
I could be wrong on that. But I think I did. I will not make that mistake again. Vanderbilt's losing to South Carolina for the rest of my life. I have Vanderbilt starting 2-1. Blake, constant sunshine pumper, as he's always accused, has Vanderbilt starting at 3-0.
Or maybe just a ball knower.
Maybe just a ball knower.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. Let's stop for a sec. Will, last year I said how that Virginia Tech game goes is going to dictate the season. You said, I don't think so. I do spreadsheets and do numbers, and I don't think so. And I said, watch this. Yes, it is. And guess what? I was right, and you were wrong. Somebody's closer.
There had to be an addition. What did he say?
Say that again.
Somebody's closer. Little Happy Gilmore reference there.
There's
learn ball.
Nothing that brings me joy than being wrong about that. Nothing that brings me more joy. I am so happy that Blake was a lot closer to being right than I was. Next up, a couple more that you might say, and by the way, I have South Carolina as the 9th most winnable game this season. Next up, a couple non-conference opponents for Vanderbilt on the 20th of September. Vanderbilt at home against Georgia State. We all remember how that game went last year. I was in Atlanta Trevor, I don't think you made that hellish trip.
Nope. I was in my living room.
It was awful. It felt like the season was falling apart in front of our eyes. Thank God that is not actually what happened. But Vanderbilt lost 36-32 to a team they simply had no business losing to. At the time, after the game, I think the consensus was this was unacceptable. This was terrible. But this Georgia State team is a little bit better than I think people are giving them credit for. That was not true. Georgia State was just not good. I don't know what happened. Vanderbilt was not mentally focused. They thought they were better than they were. The energy from the opening run out and opening warm up from Vanderbilt just wasn't there the same way that it was the rest of the season or prior to that. Last year, Georgia State went 3-9. Their over-under this season, according to BetMGM, is over 3.5 wins at -110. They're not expected to be any better this year. So, guys, do we see a repeat of last year's fall apart, or is this a revenge game?
I don't want to disrespect Blake's former head coach, Derek Mason. There's a lot of things I will never forgive Derek Mason for. One of them is scheduling a home and home with Georgia State. Absolutely unacceptable. This time it's at home. I feel a revenge game. And it's embarrassing to say a revenge game against Georgia State, but man, I hope they beat them by 70. I think the Doors win.
Blake, you feeling the same?
Yeah, I think what, all the people and sports personalities are saying, Bama's going to have us circled on the calendar this year. We have Georgia State circled on the calendar. Same
Yep.
energy. Should not have lost that game. Well, Vandy won that game against Bama. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is I think the outlook is the same on that. And Clark's going to say, remember what happened last year? Do not sleepwalk this. You're going to look like idiots on TV again, because that was absolutely unacceptable. We have a more veteran group. These guys have been together and they're working together. I think this is a win. I don't think they're going to sleepwalk this week again. And if they do, shame on them. I'll go berserk.
I agree. And I don't even like Georgia State won that game. I was there. It shouldn't. Vanderbilt almost played themselves back into a win after a pathetic first half. And it took kind of a miracle drive from Georgia State to come back and win. Yeah, I think there's no possible way that Vanderbilt lets that happen twice. Whatever that spread is, unless it's something absurd, I'm putting a lot of money on the Vanderbilt Commodores covering that spread. I think, in my prediction, coming off a loss to South Carolina, they will have a win-at-all-costs mentality and absolute domination revenge mentality against Georgia State. I think that is a win by 4+ scores for the Vanderbilt Commodores. I see something like 38-3, 38-7, somewhere in that range. Granted, I haven't dug into Georgia State. Everything I've briefly read about them, they're not going to be any better / going to be slightly worse. Moving on to the week after that, another winnable non-conference game for the Commodores on the 27th of September. Vanderbilt hosts Utah State. I had the Georgia State game, by the way, is the second most winnable game on the schedule. This is the third most winnable game on the schedule coming up after that. That is Utah State. Utah State went 4-8 last season. Their current over-under win total this season is 4.5. That 4.5 over on wins is at +125. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know a ton about Utah State. I don't know much about Utah State at all, besides they lost their star running back from last season, and that was the guy we were discussing with South Carolina. So Rajul Faison, so they are going to be slightly worse than last season, I believe. Blake, Trevor, what are you feeling about Utah State?
Do you know the Utah State mascot?
The Aggies.
The Aggies, that is correct. We are not playing the Texas A&M Aggies. We are playing the Utah State Aggies. Doors by 1 trillion. The Doors are 4-1.
Blake?
Yeah, I think we win that game pretty handily. I'm happy we're not going up to Utah. The air is very thin up there in that area. They're coming to us. So I think we'll win that game.
Yeah, I don't want to waste too much breath. Vanderbilt's more talented than Utah State. This is not something that can be universally said about Vanderbilt every single season. The talent from top to bottom is just simply so much better. Unless you're playing an elite non-Power 4 team, Vanderbilt's going to win this one. So a very positive start on the season prediction from all of us so far. Blake has the Commodores 5-0 heading in to the next matchup, which I will get to in 1 second.
I'm going to grab a lip real quick. Give me a second.
All right.
Dude, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I have Vanderbilt sitting at 4-1. Trevor also has Vanderbilt sitting at 4-1. Me and Trevor both have our losses for Vanderbilt in the first 5 games, both against South Carolina. I think this is where in the schedule things will start beginning to differentiate between me and Trevor.
I think we'll start to have some disagreements a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. This is also where the predictions and such get a lot more difficult. Not necessarily this upcoming matchup, I don't think, but over the final 7-game stretch of the season. Up next on the 4th of October, they just named their new starting quarterback, one of those rare cases of a former 5-star talent sitting for multiple years waiting on his turn. That is Ty Simpson for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Every single fan of Vanderbilt and every single college football fan across the country, if you are actually a fan, remembers what happened last year in Nashville, the goalposts into the Cumberland. It was the greatest memory of my sports life, and nothing will ever surpass that. Nothing will ever make me dislike Diego Pavia or the Vanderbilt Commodores, because he brought me the most beautiful moment that I've ever witnessed in all of sports. Grown men crying across bleachers. It was incredible. Vanderbilt beat number 1 Alabama 42-35 last season. Alabama, kind of like, I'm not saying it's the perfect analogy, but kind of the same mentality I think that Vanderbilt will have with Georgia State in some aspects. Vanderbilt's obviously a little bit closer, I think, in talent gap. Not significantly, but a little bit closer. Alabama last year had a disappointing year for the Crimson Tide in Kalen DeBoer's first year, 9-4. And they are looking for not just a bounce back against Vanderbilt, but a bounce back season overall. All of the preseason ratings have Alabama just jumping right back to the top, and they're just going to get right back in the swing of things. I'm actually very curious to see what happens with Alabama's season overall. Their win over under on the year is set at 9.5, with the over sitting at -125. I just have written down. Oh, what was that?
Said really, their schedule's terrible.
Yeah,
they have
it
a hard
is.
schedule. I'm looking at it. They have a very hard schedule.
Their non-con is rough.
I'll get into that with my pick, but oh my God.
I do not have that pulled up in front of me, but Blake, you can dig into that a little bit. I just have written down crazy talent, comma, on the road, comma, revenge. So that might give you a little peek into what I am going to predict here. But Trevor, what do you got for this one? Do the Commodores pull it off 2 years in a row?
Here's the thing. Ty Simpson has been sitting in Alabama for, I believe, 3 years. Every single year, Alabama staff and fans have said, oh, this is the year Ty Simpson's going to be the guy. Ty Simpson's going to be the guy. And year after year, he hasn't been the guy. So why should I believe that this year is any different, that Ty Simpson will be the guy? Last year, I predicted that Alabama, actually on the season preview, I predicted that Alabama would take a step back. I said that Jalen Milroe wasn't good. And both of you two criticized me. And you know what? Now it's my turn to say I was right. I am a ball knower. Also, I think it should be noted for those of you who don't follow college football nationally, Jam Miller, starting running back for the Alabama Crimson Tide, is going to be sidelined 6 to 8 weeks with a sprained collarbone. That has him slated to be hurt during the Vanderbilt football game. Obviously, Alabama has a lot of talent, particularly a wide receiver, and on defense. Good. I think the doors go in, and I think they drop the game to Alabama. It hurts. I want to say they win so bad. I think they drop it.
Blake, how are you feeling?
So following up on what I said earlier about their schedule, they got Florida State game 1. I don't really know what Florida State's going to be this year. My old offensive line coach, Herb Hand, is there now. So shout out.
And Gunnar Hansen.
So shout out them. I hope they win. Then they go Louisiana, Monroe, Wisconsin, Georgia, and then us. So they got a little bit of a gauntlet starting the season out there. I don't know if I'm an Alabama coach, I'm looking at last year and saying we need to run the ball again. We're throwing this too much. They got away from their identity last year and tried to throw it way too much and did not get on, do the run game at all. I think they'll make some tweaks to it. Unfortunately, I'm with Trevor on this. I think this is a game they have circled on their calendar. They probably, with all Alabama's resources, they've probably hired a guy, starting the day after that game to study every move we make and figure it out and have a game plan ready for us for that game. So I'm going to go Bama there. But, I mean, listen to this. So they go us, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, then Eastern Illinois, and Auburn. That's a tough stretch for them.
Yeah.
That 9.5 games, the Vegas gets paid more than I do, and they're smarter than me. But my God, I don't know if I'm taking that.
I mean,
Not with
Vegas
what
is
they did last year.
I mean, Vegas is smarter generally, but what was Vanderbilt's over/under win total last season?
2.5.
2.5 or 3.5?
3.5, depending on who you use. I will say, Blake, you're a proud Florida Gator fan. How are you going to cheer for Florida State week 1?
I'm not a Gator fan. I swore that life off after I went to Vandy. But I will say this: growing up, in my household, we hated Tennessee number 1, we hated Georgia number 2, and FSU is number 3 because the prime for me was like the Tebow years. So they were they were killing FSU. It wasn't even a game, but God, I hated that. I hated Tennessee. I always hated Tennessee. So take some solace in that, Vandy fans. I hated them growing up as a Gator fan, and I hate them even more as a Vandy fan. But
hey, you spilt more blood for Vandy than any of us have. So if anybody has a problem, suck it.
Talk your talk, Blake. I guarantee they would not tell it to Blake in person as he towered over them.
They would not.
But yeah, to spoil it, I'm also going a loss here. This is the 11th most winnable game. I have listed out here. I don't see Vanderbilt winning this one. I don't think they snuck up on Alabama this year or last year. I hate that term, but I do think Vanderbilt surprised Alabama with the athleticism that Vanderbilt had inside of their unique scheme. It's something I heard on the Cover 3 podcast, I think. Like, you lose to Vanderbilt on Monday and Tuesday. I think that is partially true, and I think this year they're going to combine that with some superior talent and depth to what they've had, but I still think they go into Tuscaloosa and lose that one. So right now, Trevor has Vanderbilt at 4-2. Blake has Vanderbilt at 5-1. I have Vanderbilt at 4-2. Headed into
Vanderbilt. Crazy? Are we crazy? Like, from last year's us doing this to now, we feel pretty like 4-2 is definitely gettable. Like, that's not a crazy thing to say this year.
There's part of me, and it's just like the Vanderbilt fan in me, and Will and I talk about this all the time. There's part of me that's like, am I too optimistic? Because God forbid the last thing I want is another 2023.
Yep.
That is legitimately the last thing I want. But I take solace in the fact that I was high on last year's team in the offseason, and it panned out. So I don't think we're crazy.
2023, we had a couple guys we were excited about and we thought would carry us. We have a roster full of guys we're pretty confident in now, all over the board.
This team would beat the shit out of the 2023 team, and it wouldn't be close.
Do we have first team all SEC guys at every position? No, but we're competent everywhere we are.
You do, yet you have first team All Americans at one position.
Yeah, we got Eli Stowers. I'm just saying, like,
that's something we haven't had in Christ Almighty years.
Yep. A lot more talent this year. I don't think 4-2.
I don't think 4-2 is crazy.
It's not crazy at all. I think 4-1 is I'm very curious what that Virginia Tech gambling line is going to be.
I think anything less than 4-2 is actually a huge disappointment.
Yeah, if they are not sitting 4-2 after that Alabama game and they're sitting 3-3, this season's gone poorly thus far.
I agree.
And I think that is partially because they've raised the standards. So that is what it is. But yeah, this team should be 4-2 after the first 6 games of this year. After the Alabama game, Vanderbilt goes into their first bye week of this season. And then after the bye week, Vanderbilt hosts preseason ranked the number 9 LSU Tigers on the 18th of October. LSU went 9-4 last season. Garrett Nussmeier returning, Luke Weeks returning. Their over-under on wins is set at 8.5 with the over at -160. So Vegas fully expecting LSU to win at least 9 games this season. Trevor, Blake, we know that LSU had a solid offense last season, had some talented corners, but they really struggled on defense last year underneath Brian Kelly. They're expecting to take a step forward this year. Trevor, Blake, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, last year I think Vanderbilt shocked not only LSU but also their fans by going into Death Valley and almost winning a game against LSU, a night game as well. I think coming off a bye week, getting the ability to rest up, I think helps Vanderbilt. Also, if you look at LSU's schedule where this Vanderbilt game is slotted, this Vanderbilt game is slotted in between a game versus Oklahoma and Texas A&M. I think that also plays in Vanderbilt's favor. I think the fact that it is at First Bank Stadium plays in Vanderbilt's favor. I am not high on LSU. Garrett Nussmeier through fall camp has missed a lot of snaps due to injury. He has been injured legitimately his entire career. Who knows if Garrett Nussmeier is going to be fully healthy come this Vanderbilt game. Also, I'm not high on LSU's defense at all. They were very bad last year. I expect them to be pretty bad this year. They have weapons at wide receiver, Byrum Brown coming from Kentucky to LSU. Vanderbilt locked down Byrum Brown last year when they played at Kentucky. Boys, the Doors get it done. Doors take down the Tigers. Woo! Doors take down the Tigers. 5-2, baby. 5-2. Woo! Believe.
Trevor's sipping the juice just a little bit, baby. I will say, before we swing it to Blake, a lot of this prediction from Trevor, as we've discussed a lot more national college football, is a lot more he is low on LSU.
I'm very low on LSU.
And he's obviously higher on Vanderbilt than the average person might be, but a lot of this is you are not high on LSU at all.
I'm not a gambling man. If I was, I personally would hammer the under at 9.5. I would. I really
They're
would.
8.5.
8.5. Sorry, I would hammer under 8.5.
Blake, you agree or disagree?
So LSU, what I've been hearing in camp is their offensive line's not the best it's ever been.
Oh, I totally forgot that. To be quite frank, their insiders are saying it's hideous.
Still, even a hideous LSU offensive line's all right. Like, that's probably what hideous is for them, is just all right. So I'm looking at their schedule. They got Clemson, who is the best defensive line in the country, week 1. I know Nussmeier's been hurt a lot. So they got them week 1. They got La Tech 2. They go against Florida, who always has a very good defensive line, week 3. Week 5, they got Ole Miss. They always got a couple guys. Week 6, they got South Carolina. So they're going against really, really, really unbelievably talented defensive lines. And then they're going against us.
Oh, South Carolina.
And we're coming off a bye week. So with that schedule coming into it, they could easily – I think Clemson's going to win. I think Florida could beat them, and that's not just because I'm a Gator fan, but there's a lot of pressure on Billy Napier too, and I think that's a gettable game for them. They got Ole Miss who can beat them, and they got South Carolina who could beat them, so they could realistically come into the game with us. I mean, what do they got? La Tech, and they could have a losing record coming into the game with us very easily. The locker room could be lost. I think they're going to drop 3 out of the 4 of those tough games, and their locker room is probably going to be the worst place it's been in a while coming into Vandy. I think we win. I'm going to give us I'm going to go rocket launcher field goal to win it.
Unleash the rocket launcher, baby.
You guys are now. I have to be the one.
Why? Blanket will.
So everything you described, like exactly what you said, Blake, and then the Nussmeier injury stuff. If Nussmeier can remain healthy, I am a Nuss believer. If he can remain healthy, that's a huge if. I think he's a very talented quarterback. I hate Brian Kelly. Depending on how the beginning of their schedule shakes out, I actually am a little bit higher on LSU than Trevor is, and Trevor has a lot more information to back him up, so I can't really argue, but it's mostly along the lines of what you said, Blake, which is the reports have been atrocious about the offensive line, but their insiders and what they view as atrocious is probably all right.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's part of kind of what I'm saying here. I actually have this one not in my likely or guaranteed loss category. I don't say guaranteed losses anymore after what I saw last season, but likely loss. I had them in that. Now they're in their own separate little category of heavily leaning loss, but I don't think it's not out of my mind's ability to rationalize that Vanderbilt could win this game. I still am going with a loss here. I think coming off the bye week, I think it's going to be a close game. That's how I view a lot of these that I'm going to call losses. Vanderbilt had basically one game last season that was not a close game. And people like to say the Tennessee game wasn't close, whatever. If you were there and watched that whole game, Vanderbilt kind of fell apart, but they lost by 13 points. If that's now defined as a blowout for the Vanderbilt Commodores losing by 13 points to a college football playoff team, then sign me the fuck up. I think this is a close game at home. I think Vanderbilt loses by around 7 to 10 points, but I think it is a loss for Vanderbilt. But it's not a season-defining loss. Losing back-to-back games to Alabama and LSU doesn't destroy the season. So, Blake, you have Vanderbilt, 6-1?
6-1.
Is that right? 6-1. Trevor, you're.
And I don't feel like I'm being insane. I don't. I really don't. I can see a world where this happens. I'm not just trying to get clicks and views and all that and reposts and quote tweets. I really think we could do this. I like what we have. We're pretty solid.
Yeah, this is the first year that you can make a case going into every single game, basically, that Vanderbilt can win.
They've got a fighting chance.
And that's just not been true for a majority of our lives. So I am sitting with Vanderbilt at 4-3, but I think it's a real possibility that they could be 3-4. I think it's a real possibility they could be 6-1. I don't think either of those are out of the realm of possibility. After the LSU game, this is when things start to get really interesting. And you have a stretch of 5 games where I truly have no idea what to think about 3 of these 5 remaining opponents for Vanderbilt. This is when it gets really tough for me. October 25th at home, Vanderbilt hosts Missouri. Missouri last year had a pretty good year. It's a year that has Eli Drinkowitz really pitching for an expanded college football playoff because he knows that was kind of as good as he can do at Missouri, and it didn't get him into the college football playoff. They went 10-3, went 9-3 in the regular season. Missouri lost a lot from their offense. Now they've replaced it with some transfers, but I think it's really being glazed over how much they've lost. They lost Brady Cook at quarterback. They lost their top 2 wide receivers in Luther Burden and Theo Weiss. They did bring in Mississippi State transfer Kevin Coleman, who got 74 passes for 932 yards and 6 touchdowns last season. Missouri also lost their top 2 running backs from last year, but they did bring in Ahmad Hardy, who ran for 1,351 yards and 13 touchdowns last season at the University of Louisiana Monroe. Missouri's over-under, I don't know if I already said this, is 7.5. On the win total, that win over is set at plus 130. Trevor, Blake, what are we thinking about Missouri?
Yeah, it's like you said, Missouri lost a lot on offense. I think people and I agree, I think people glaze over the fact of sort of how good Brady Cook was at quarterback. Lost Luther Burden, who was one of the best wide receivers. I think you can make the argument could have been the best wide receiver in the SEC for the time that he was there. I will say I love Ahmad Hardy out of ULM. I also think their defense is going to be really good. For those who haven't kept up with Mizzou in their fall camp, they brought in Bo Pribula, the backup out of Penn State, while Diego Pavia was fighting his battle against the NCAA. It was rumored that if he lost, Vanderbilt would be interested in Bo Pribula because he sort of has a similar skill set. However, you've been keeping up with Mizzou fall camp. Bo Pribula has still not won the starting job.
Nope.
And it is a lot closer between him and the backup than I think Eli Drinkowitz and Mizzou wants it to be. He has not won the starting job. That is still up in the air.
What is his name?
It starts with a Z, right?
Zoilers?
I can't. It's hard for me to pronounce it.
I think that's who he's in the battle with.
Let me look.
Matt Zoilers.
Yeah, it's Matt Zoilers. Sam Horn, their 3rd-string quarterback, actually was drafted. I forget by who, but he was a Major League Baseball prospect, and he was actually drafted at high school. Really good baseball player. But it's between him and the dude with the Z name. I can't pronounce it. I do think, however, that Vanderbilt went on the road to a good Missouri team last year, took them down to double overtime. I think Vanderbilt is just as good as Missouri, maybe definitely a little bit better on offense. I think Missouri comes to town. I think Vanderbilt gets the win against Missouri. I think Vanderbilt gets the dub, and they go to 6-2.
I just assumed Pribula was going to take over that starting job until I started digging
I think a
in
lot of people
to the
did.
season preview and realized that's still very much up in the air. I still do think he eventually does win
I
the
agree.
starting job. But yeah, Blake, are you in agreement with Trevor, or are you going the other direction?
So I've been kind of going through each team's schedule leading up to it and kind of overall. And Missouri's AD deserves a raise for putting this schedule together for them because, God, there's night and day difference from ours and some of the team. Bama's definitely. I mean, they start off Central Arkansas to Kansas to Louisiana. The first 3 games are, gimmies for the most part. Then they got South Carolina, tough game, UMass. Then they go Bama, Auburn, us. That's a tough 2 stretch of games there because, Hugh Freeze is fighting for his life right now. I'm going to say I think because the beast of burden is gone, I'm going Vanderbilt win.
I'll never be your beast,
Beast of burden.
So
And then, yeah.
I was going to let you guys go as long as you wanted.
The burden.
Hey, yo, shout out. What's the lead singer of the Stones? Mick Jagger. Still having babies at like age 90, man. Kudos to him.
Oh, yeah. Missouri, this is the start of the list of 3 teams that I said I all lump into one category. And I think Vanderbilt's going to go 2-3 against these teams. I'm not 100% sure which they're going to go 2-3 against because, frankly, at this point in the year, when we actually do the preview leading up to the game, I'll know for sure. But Missouri is the first on this list of teams. I don't know what the hell Missouri is.
Mhm.
Like you said, Trevor, I think they could have a good defense. I don't know what their offense is going to look like.
Yeah.
When you have to replace, I know that all of these transfers are expected to be good coming in. That's always the case. But when you replace your starting quarterback, your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, RB1, RB2, that's a lot of replacement.
That's
a
ton of production to replace.
And so I think Eli Drinkwitz is a relatively good head coach, a good offensive mind. But Vanderbilt probably, I know that the Brock Taylor kick didn't lose them the game, but they were a 38-yard field goal away from going into triple overtime against Missouri last year on the road. I think Vanderbilt is slightly better this year. I think Missouri is slightly worse. I think Vanderbilt wins this one. I have it ranked as the 7th most winnable game on Vanderbilt's schedule. That'll give you a little peek into what my final record prediction is. But I have Vanderbilt winning this game as well. So a sweep across the board of beating Missouri. I didn't know if that was going to be the case or not. After the Missouri game, Vanderbilt travels on the road. First game of November 1st at preseason number 1 Texas with old Arch Manning. Texas last year went 13-3, of course, made it to the college football playoff. Their over-under total this year is set at 9.5. The over on that 9.5 is a staggering minus 190. So Vegas is fully expecting them to win 10 games. This is an incredibly talented Texas team. Blake, Trevor, this feels a bit like, in my opinion, wasting too much time talking about the Charleston Southern game. But Blake, Trevor, I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, Texas, obviously, arguably, not really arguably, the best team in the nation. Steve Sark, great head coach. I will note that Texas has lost their starting left tackle for the season with a knee injury. With that being said, I do not think Vanderbilt wins this game. I believe Vanderbilt drops this game to the Texas Longhorns in Austin, Texas.
Blake, what do you got?
This is one of those teams where you say there's levels to this shit, and they have way too many guys on their roster. We have a good roster, but, it's like when Alabama plays Kansas State, back when Alabama was in its prime. Like, Kansas State could be ranked 19th, but when you go up against this type of a roster, there's really I just don't see it. I think we still have a winning record against Texas all the time, but I think we're dropping that one this year.
I think it'll move to 8-5 or 8-4.
I think it's 8-5.
We got some room to work. We got some room to work. So
it'll be a long time before they have a winning record over us.
Yeah, I'm not gonna waste time talking about this. Texas is way more talented than Vanderbilt. I have this as a loss. So sitting right now, I think I have Vanderbilt at 5-4 going into the final 3 games of the season. Trevor, what do you have them?
I have them at 6-3.
And Blake has them at 7-2. So a well represented.
Sorry, I believe. Sorry.
Believe, capital capital LEA.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
all
is
that.
when the make or break portion of the season begins, in my mind, for Vanderbilt. I think after that Texas game, they have 3 games that they can win all 3, or they could go 1-2 in the final 3 games. I think I don't know where it's going to end up, but after Texas, November 8th, Vanderbilt at home goes against Auburn. The Auburn Tigers and Hugh Freeze. Vanderbilt, of course, beat them last season on the road, a final score of 17-7. Auburn is interesting. They brought in a lot of transfers. I want to underscore a lot of transfers. Last year, Auburn went 5-7, a very disappointing season for them. The over-under this year for Auburn is set at 7.5, with the over at -170. A little bit surprising. I did not expect that. I did look at their schedule, and it makes a little more sense, to be honest, but kind of the splashiest of the transfers in for Auburn, and then Trevor, you can expand on whatever I miss here. Auburn brought in Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold, a very talented guy that just didn't work out at Oklahoma, for lack of a better term, and Auburn's just fully expecting him to step in and be the answer to their problems, even though I'm going to be honest, Payton Thorne was not the problem with Auburn's team last season.
Who do you think was?
I think a general lack of talent was their problem last season.
Payton Thorne was really bad.
Yeah, Will, I don't know if I'm following you. I'm not following you there, bud.
All right, well, I'll dig into that a little more when I get his stats pulled up, because there's a reason I said that. But getting to the rest of Auburn, they have a very, very talented receiving core. Wide receiver Eric Singleton Jr., a Georgia Tech transfer last year, caught 56 passes for 754 yards, 3 touchdowns. They also brought in a wide receiver from Wake Forest, Horatio Fields, 39 catches for 463 yards and 4 touchdowns last season. I'm also a Cam Coleman believer. Cam Coleman last year, 37 catches, 598 yards, 8 touchdowns. They also bring back Malcolm Simmons. They really struggled to quote unquote control the game last year. They ranked 101st in the country in time of possession percentage. The schedule, relatively kind for Auburn. At home, how are you guys seeing this one play out?
Yeah, so it's like you said, Auburn brought in, basically they overhauled their entire roster through the transfer portal. The marquee name is Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. If you have been following Auburn and the fall camp and sort of the absolute dysfunction around Auburn football and Hugh Freeze right now, it rivals that of like historically Vanderbilt. So I don't know if you guys know this. I think y'all know this, but if our listeners know this, apparently Auburn has a coach, 3 separate coaches. They have one offensive coach that calls the first down plays. Hugh Freeze calls the second down plays, and they have another offensive coach that calls the third down plays, but Hugh Freeze can override them and change their calls on first and third down. So they have 3 different guys calling plays on offense. The reports out of camp are that Jackson Arnold is not doing very well. He hasn't won the starting job. They have like 5 different quarterbacks all fighting for that job. I think right now, I believe it's between Jackson Arnold and I think local kid Hank Brown. He still hasn't won the job. I think there is a ton of dysfunction around this Auburn team. I think Hugh Freeze, I know Hugh Freeze is 100% on the hot seat, maybe the hottest seat in all the SEC. I think, hot take, I think Hugh Freeze is fired before Auburn plays Vanderbilt, but all Diego Pavia does is beat Hugh Freeze and beat Auburn. So I'm going to give this a Vanderbilt victory. Auburn coming to Nashville. Doors get the dub over the War Eagles.
Blake, how are you feeling?
Let's see. They start off with Baylor this year. I don't know if Baylor's very good. They go to Ball State, South Alabama. So at worst, they're 2-1 going into SEC play. They got Oklahoma. Oklahoma's good this year. They got A&M, Georgia, Missouri. That could be the stretch where Hugh Freeze gets fired. That could very well be it. Then they go to Missouri. Then they got Arkansas, which Pittman's coaching for his job too. So that'll be intriguing. Then Kentucky, Auburn, then us, Auburn. Hard to argue with. We have Diego Pavia. I'm going to give us a win.
Blake, I'll add on to this. The Baylor game, I think Baylor is going to be very good. Sawyer Robertson at quarterback is very, very good. They have a lot of talent on offense, Washington a running back, and they brought in from Alabama a transfer wide receiver, Kobe Prentice, who is a speedster. That started out whenever the line opened as like Auburn's a favorite, and it just swung, even though we still have a little bit to go. It swung over to Baylor -1.5. That game is in Waco. I think Baylor wins that game handily.
That's an interesting one. Immediately when I have heard all of the recent reports, like what you guys were talking about with the weird system of play calling, with Hugh Freeze openly stating, we think we're going to play 3 quarterbacks against Baylor. We think we have 3 quarterbacks that could all start for Baylor. Everyone that's listened to this knows I hate Hugh Freeze. Genuinely one of the slimiest, like, televangelist, like fake mega church preacher. I hate him so much. I've hated him for a long time. I don't think he's a good coach. I don't know how it's gotten in people's minds he's a good coach. The reason I said it was not a Payton Thorne problem is not because Payton Thorne was perfect. Now, Payton Thorne's stats will tell you it wasn't really his fault. Payton Thorne completed basically 63% of his passes for over 2,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, 9 picks with a quarterback rating of over 150. Where Auburn struggled was play calling. Their play calling made no sense. And the reason Auburn struggled so badly was, in particular, their red zone conversion percentage. I had this highlighted. Auburn only scored on 71% of their red zone opportunities. That was 123rd in the country. Payton Thorne was good at moving them up and down the field. I don't know what happened in the red zone for Auburn. They have an overall coaching problem, in my opinion. They've employed a televangelist, a fucking moron, a fake. I'm not going to go further into it. We're signed with on 3. I hate Hugh Freeze, and I think Vanderbilt's going to win this game. I'm glad that Diego Pavia is his daddy, and he's going to spank him once again. Vanderbilt beats Auburn.
Do you think Hugh Freeze is still the coach of Auburn by the time this game happens? I don't either. I think he's fired before this game.
I think they're facing an interim head coach.
Will, are you a Payton Thorne truther?
No.
I mean,
I don't think he's great.
Watch the game. Did you watch any of the game? Watch the Vandy one. He missed so many throws. What are you talking about?
I think Payton Thorne was absolute dog shit last year.
Okay. I mean, if you guys truly believe that, then they're going to get tremendously better this season.
I don't think Jackson Arnold's much better, though.
Okay. I'm not a Payton Thorne truther. It's when I hear the criticisms about Payton Thorne, it reminds me of a lot of fan bases, and rightfully so. The quarterback gets a lot of the glory whenever a team wins. The quarterback gets a lot of the criticism when a team loses. I watched him miss open receivers. I watch that occasionally. You can watch any quarterback miss open receivers on the regular, consistently. When you see a guy with over a 60% completion percentage and over a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio and a quarterback passer rating of over 150, he wasn't the problem. That's it. Moving on to next week, which is a bye week for the Vanderbilt Commodores. Then after that, Vanderbilt on November 22nd takes on the Kentucky Wildcats at home. Kentucky under Mark Stoops, another guy that is certainly on the hot seat. Last year, Mark Stoops and Kentucky went 4-8. This year, not expected to do much better. Their over-under win total is set at 4.5, with the over sitting at -110. Me and Trevor discussed this earlier. I think the Kentucky athletic department has basically given up on football.
Mm-hmm.
They will continue to decline as they focus revenue share on basketball. Everyone around them knows it. Mark Stoops will be gone after this season. They've just given up on football.
Mm-hmm.
I think they will be relegated to the bottom of the conference eternally with what they have chosen to do with revenue share. Trevor, Blake, how are you seeing this one play out?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think how Vanderbilt has been viewed historically as like the cellar dweller of the SEC, I think that's going to be Kentucky for the future. Just with rev share, you cannot dedicate 45% of rev share to basketball. You can't, even at a school like Kentucky. Like, basketball isn't your main moneymaker like football is. It's just not. Transfer quarterback Zach Calzada from, I forget, he's been at like 7 different schools. Coming in, he's currently once again, not declared the starter yet. Apparently, it's between Zach Calzada and Connor Boley. Kentucky has absolutely no talent on offense or defense. I think Kentucky is going to be the second worst team behind Mississippi State. I think this is an absolute drubbing. I think Vanderbilt runs up and down the field on them.
Calzada, I completely forgot.
He's been like 4 or 5
He was at
schools.
A&M and played, started a lot of games for A&M, then transferred to the University of Incarnate Word.
Yeah.
And then has been playing there for the last 2 years. And now he's back in the SEC at Kentucky. He put up great stats for Incarnate Word. I'm not sure that's going to translate too great when he starts facing SEC competition with the talent that Mark Stoops has put together around him. But Blake, what are you thinking about the Kentucky matchup? Trevor, you predicted a win.
They're really doing 45% revenue share to basketball.
That's the report
I thought
from
it was
CBS.
25%.
No, it's 45.
45. Jesus.
45.
That's the report from Matt Norlander out of CBS. And just for context, every other SEC school is doing 75% to football and 15% to basketball. They're doing 45%.
And there's
to
discussion
basketball.
that's actually going to even increase as this moves forward with football.
Yeah, that's not some message board stuff. That's CBS.
Okay. That's an interesting decision to make, but all right. I guess you play your strengths. You know, when I think of Kentucky, I think of how Payton Thorne was the problem last year for Auburn. Okay. No, it's I think we'll win this game coming off a bye week. You know, I think Pavia is probably going to be a little banged up at this point. That bye week's going to do him and everyone else some good. I got us winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely just don't think Kentucky's very good. I think that this Kentucky team, it's Kentucky, Mississippi State clearly at the bottom of the conference this year. This Kentucky team reminds me of like 2003 Vanderbilt. I'm not meaning to call it the 2003 team, but that's more what I'm.
They might be worse.
No, I just mean their talent level is just not at an SEC caliber, and I think Vanderbilt's is. And I mean this very complimentarily. Is that a word? Complimentary? Complimentary. That's the word.
I think so.
We've been talking for a little too long. Good God, are we already at over an hour? All right. Vanderbilt wins this one. Yeah. There's no more point in wasting my breath on it. Vanderbilt's just more talented. Vanderbilt, even though I don't think Vanderbilt's talent is what I was getting at. I don't think it's to an average talent level yet in the SEC, but I think it is maybe one small notch below. I mean, Vanderbilt's probably sitting at maybe like pure talent, the 10th through 12th team in the conference. And that's way above what they have been since the James Franklin era for that brief 2-year period. So
yeah, I think so.
Kentucky's back down at that bottom. So
do you think Shiaz Pete is going to regret committing to Kentucky over Vanderbilt?
Yes. But maybe they allocated quite a bit of the revenue share that they're slightly allocating to football to Shiaz Pete.
Jeez Louise.
I mean, Kentucky's a basketball school. I mean, they're fans. I grew up and am still best friends with a Kentucky fan. His whole family is Kentucky fans. I can't describe to you how much they don't give a shit about football compared to basketball.
Yeah.
The crazy part is I think a lot of their fans are fully in favor of that decision. I don't know if they fully understand the consequences.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they understand, like, you're going to be non-competitive ever. Like, you're never going to be able to compete anymore if you do that. But I think that they will take that trade to have Kentucky basketball be elite. I think almost all of them will swap it, which I think they're the only team in the SEC that would take that, but they're Kentucky basketball for a reason. Final game of the season at the preseason number 24 Tennessee Volunteers on November 29th. Tennessee losing 10 of their 11 starters on offense from a college football playoff team. We all are very familiar with the soap opera that was the quarterback situation there. Nico Iamaleava transferring to UCLA, basically a de facto trade, and Joey Aguilar coming to Tennessee from UCLA, even though he had just transferred to UCLA from App State. Joey Aguilar recently has been named the starter for Tennessee. Tennessee last year, we all remember, went 10-2 during the regular season and then got drubbed by Ohio State in the first round of the college football playoff. My outlook on this Tennessee team even though they did lose a lot of talent and make a lot of changes, that quarterback position, I'm not a Joey Aguilar believer. I actually was able to see 2 or 3 App State games. He is a really solid arm. He's going to make some throws that Tennessee fans are going to get excited about. He is also going to make decisions that they have not seen with Josh Heupel. He made some that worked out for him. Like some of his highlights. He makes some of the dumbest throws I've ever seen. There is a reason. And it's not because he was forced to fit the ball in tight windows in App State's offense. There was a reason he led the country in interceptions last year. Number 1, not tied for number 1. He was number 1 standing alone through the most interceptions in all of college football last season, over 1 per game through 14 interceptions last year. If you think that's going to get better against SEC defenses, I have a bridge to sell you over in East Nashville. So Tennessee ranked number 24 preseason. Their over-under and win total is set at 8.5 according to BetMGM. The over is set at plus 130, a little bit juiced there. This is one of that group of 3 games that I'm lumping in with Missouri, Auburn, Tennessee. I think one of these teams is going to be better than we expect. I think one of these teams is going to be way worse than we expect. And I think one of these teams is going to be about what we expect. I'm not sure which is which. There's so many new pieces on this Tennessee offense. They only have 7 scholarship wide receivers, not a lot of proven talent at that wide receiver group, which is majorly a key for this Josh Heupel offense. They also lost James Pierce Jr. off that defensive line, who was by far their most dominant defender. A lot of question marks on this Tennessee team. Not saying there's no talent there, but there are a lot of unproven pieces. So, Trevor, let me do a quick recap. Where are we all sitting as we enter this final prediction of the season?
I'm at 8-3 going into the Tennessee game.
I am at 7-4 going into the Tennessee game. Blake, you're
9-2.
at 9-2.
Playoff berth, baby.
Playoff berth on the line.
Hey, I believe in what Pavia is saying. This is the year.
All right. Hey, Blake, Trevor, what do we got on this one?
Lost a lot. Lost Nico. Lost basically every wide receiver. Like, who the hell is Joey Aguilar going to throw the ball to? Chris Brazel's nursing an injury. Boo Carter legitimately might not be on the team by the time this game happens. Lost a lot on defense. I think they maybe have 2 actual safeties in that safety room. You can run from it. You can hide from it. It doesn't matter. Destiny arrives all the same. The doors go into Knoxville. Take down the balls. 9-3, baby. Build the Diego Pavia statue. Build the Clark Lee statue. Build the Tim Beck statue. Build the Jerry Kill statue. Build the Steve Gregory statue. Build the Nicholas Esky statue. Everybody gets a statue. Doors 9-3.
Blake, how the hell are you going to follow that up? Trevor has the Commodores beating Tennessee, moving to 9-3 on the year. Blake, what do you have?
So Joey Aguilar is bad and Payton Thorne is good. Walk me through that. Where's your lines in the sand make no damn sense to me.
Okay. I'm not arguing Payton Thorne is good. Look at their stats. What they're not even comparable. Joey Aguilar threw 23 touchdowns and 14 interceptions last year. Payton Thorne threw 21-9.
I do think Joey is worse than Payton. Yeah.
That's a huge difference. A 2-to-1 TDI and T ratio is solid. What Joey Aguilar did is pathetic.
I think Tennessee would take Payton Thorne right now.
I'm not a Payton Thorne was good, but Payton Thorne was not the reason that team went 5-7.
We'll let the record speak for itself on your Payton Thorne love. So we'll let the listeners decide. Yeah, fuck Tennessee. We're whooping that ass. You can't. Neyland's going to be quiet. Everyone's going to leave by halftime. You know, Pigeon Forge Tech State University is going down. Fuck those guys. Vanderbilt playoff berth. Ride the lightning, Will. Ride the lightning.
Can you believe it? Doors are going to the playoff, baby.
Blake's got him 10-2. Trevor's got him 9-3. I think this is by far the most winnable matchup that Vanderbilt has had against Tennessee since Clark Lee arrived. Tennessee is going to be worse. I think that they could be in almost full disaster mode at this point late in the season. I'm not an Aguilar believer. I don't think Tennessee's going to be that good. With that all said, I have to be wet blanket Will in some capacity. Similar to South Carolina, I have watched, since Clark-Lee arrived and Josh Heupel arrived, I have watched Vanderbilt year in, year out struggle to defend Josh Heupel's offensive scheme, which is very unique. I have watched year in, year out Vanderbilt struggle to move the ball against Tennessee. Until I see evidence of change that Clark-Lee's unique 4-2-5 defense has the capability of defending Josh Heupel's widespread, it's not even pass heavy because they ran the ball a lot last year.
It's like a veer.
Yeah, until I can see it actually happen, and especially on the road, I want to, with every fiber of my being, and I want this clip to be pulled up and thrown in my face and have pie rubbed in my face at the end of the season when they beat Tennessee. I'm going with a loss against Tennessee. I don't like it, but like I said, they are in that group with Missouri, Auburn, and Tennessee. The only reason that I'm predicting a loss there is I think Vanderbilt goes 2-1 in those games. So if Vanderbilt loses to Auburn, I think they beat Tennessee. If Vanderbilt loses to Missouri but beats Auburn, I think they beat Tennessee. So it's not 100% sure. They're in my coin flip category of games that I have those three teams in. I'm going with a loss. Have Vanderbilt finishing the year at 7-5, beating the win total over. Now, a question quickly I have for you guys: 9-3 for Trevor, 10-2 for Blake, 7-5 for myself. How would you feel? And don't just give me that any bowl game is a successful season. Genuinely,
yeah.
How would you feel? Because that's the real response.
Yeah.
How would you feel with the 7-5 season?
I think that would be successful. 7-5, you go over your win total from last year by a game. Possibility of going 8-5. I would be okay with that.
Blake, how would you feel with a 7-5 finish?
I feel like we got lightning in a bottle with Stowers and Pavia, and if we don't capitalize on it this year, like, when are we going to have a setup like this again where we have someone behind center that you'd bet the house on? Because not only does he talk the talk, he backs it up, and he beat Alabama last year. Like, we have got to capitalize this year. I think anything less than 8 wins is a disappointment in my eyes.
Oh,
I'm glad you finally said so.
Because we have the stars aligned the best they're going to for us in a while. We have what we need, and that's why I'm positive on us this year, because once Pavia leaves, once Stowers leaves, we're not going to have these same conversations that we have next year unless something crazy happens in the transfer portal or something happens that we just cannot believe. We're not going to be set up better for success than we are this year. We're not. We have veterans. Our offensive line's veterans. We have a good defense. Like, I can't point to a position on our team and say they're an absolute liability like we have in years past. This is the year to get it done. The SEC doesn't have the quarterbacks it usually does. This is the year. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it.
I fully agree with you, Blake. I've been a guest on a few other SEC podcasts, some specifically for teams, some just in general. And I basically said where I saw they kind of pitched if Vanderbilt finishes 7-5 that the fan base is going to be super excited about that. And I said, I would put a pause on that. If Vanderbilt finishes 7-5, I think fans will not be upset by it, but they're not going to be dancing in the streets or excited about it by any stretch.
No,
I'd be happy with
I
that.
think a
Don't
lot
get
of
me wrong.
people are going to view it as a disappointment, like what you said. In my eyes, I'm predicting 7-5, which isn't a disaster. It's not disastrous.
No.
I view that as a bit of a disappointment. I think the baseline for this season to be actually a success is 8-4. I think 8-4 is a successful season. I think that matches the best season that you've seen in recent memory. And then they have the potential to win 9 games and match the James Franklin era. It feels like that is the next stepping stone when all of the stars have aligned, and it's okay. Now we're going to take a step back this next year, but then we can, put together talent in the transfer portal and through recruiting, and then we can build back up to that level again. I think 7-5 is a slight disappointment. Not a full disappointment, but a slight disappointment. The only way that this team can actually fully disappoint is not making a bowl game. If they don't make a bowl game, that's a huge, massive red mark on Clark-Lee, and that's a huge disappointment. But 7-5, I think that's kind of the expectation, like base level expectation for a lot of Vanderbilt fans. And for this team, I think they would openly state 7-5 would be a failure.
Yeah. You know what? I do agree. I don't think I personally would go and say 7-5 would be a failure. I think 6-6 would be a disappointment.
Yep.
I will say an abject failure, though, is not making a bowl game. And I'll go on record and say this, and this is sort of combining what both you guys said. If Vanderbilt didn't make a bowl game this year, I really do think like it would push me to the point where I would probably cancel my season tickets. Because then like there's so much hope and so much belief that it's like if there was ever a time, it's this year. And then I think it would break me. I think it would break me worse than any 2-10 or 0-9 season had.
So, Blake, we're about to go to the TDR cocktail break, and then we can discuss some things further. We have a ton of premium message board questions, some addressed specifically to you. Blake, are you going to join us for segment 2 here?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So we do not have to dig into the premium message board questions. We are going to all go to the TDR cocktail break real quick. So everybody out there, grab yourself a delicious ice cold beverage, and we will be back after the TDR cocktail break. Welcome back from the TDR cocktail break, and welcome back into episode 329. We are still joined by former Vanderbilt offensive lineman and tight end legend, as well as TDR's alleged attorney, Blake Fromang, to help us answer some premium message board questions. To remind everybody out there, we just ran through our season preview and predictions game by game. Blake has the Commodores heading to the college football playoff at 10-2. Trevor has the Vanderbilt Commodores in the college football playoff waiting room, sitting at 9-3. Wet blanket Will, myself, I have Vanderbilt going such a massively disappointing 7-5.
Will's got us going to the Holiday Bowl.
A game and a half above Vegas's over/under, but somehow I'm the one that's shitting on this team. Whatever.
Dude, the tables have turned back to where the universe wants it. Because during baseball season, I don't know what nickname they had, but I was the wet blanket, and you were like not positive, but you were not nearly as wet as I was. Pause. And now it is paused where you were more wet. Pause than I am. Dry. Pause.
So we have a ton of premium message board questions, as you would expect. I will try to filter through ones that are actually relevant. Starting out, we're going to go a little bit. All right. Been talking too long. We're going to go a little bit out of order because there is question number 2 is actually addressed directly to Blake from Unabridged. It says, Blake, as a decorated tight end, what do you think that you could add to the current room?
Well, they gave me Jordan Matthews' number for a reason right after he left. So they must have seen something in me that was special. Probably just probably blocking and my deceptive speed. My deceptive speed for sure.
Was there a part of you whenever they gave you 87 that was like, I can't wear this? Or were you just like, whatever?
No, I absolutely was like, I should not have this jersey. I was like, I was 66 because my birthday is June 6th. And I was like, can I just get like 16 or 6 or something with a 6 in it? And they're like, no, all those numbers are taken. You get 87. And I couldn't even look Jordan Matthews in the face when he came back. I was like, dude, this wasn't my call.
Like, no, you can't have 16 or 6. You just get the most legendary number ever in the history of Vanderbilt.
It was like I felt really weird about it.
Good luck living up. But the second part of that question is, in all seriousness, and they're aware that you have not been at fall camp or anything, what do you think will be the strength and weakness of this offensive line?
Strengths, definitely the reps they have. Everyone up front's experienced. I heard Cade McConnell is still competing, or he might have gotten the job for quick guard. So that means there's good competition because Porsche, the transfer we brought in, had impressive tape. So that means we have depth and we have reps, in the offensive line. So I'm excited with that, experience is the name of the game up front. The weakness is probably going to be, I think, based on what I've read in fall camp, there's probably going to be some procedural penalties early on in the season. I know they're working their butt off to get them right, but things are going to happen. Hopefully they can get those cleaned up. But other than that, I think it's a really solid group up front. I'm excited about who we have. It all starts in the middle with Jordan White. He's an absolute freak. I watched his tape. He's the best offensive lineman we've had in a very long time. Bryce Henderson is gigantic. He's everything I wanted to look like when I played tackle, but I couldn't do. All the cheeseburgers I ate went to my belly. They didn't go to my arms and legs like him. So I'm jealous of that. Chase Mitchell's an animal. I think he's playing guard. I think he's plug and play. He's going to be great. McConnell, I watched him a little bit last year, and same with Porsche. I think they're both going to be good. And then at right tackle, we have Glass, and I watched his tape. I think he's an athlete. We just need someone who's really, really solid and pass pro, and I think he fits the bill to get that done. So I'm excited about our offensive line. I haven't been this excited about our offensive line in a while. Like last year, I was pumped about, we had Gunnar Hansen coming back, and I think he's a dog. But everyone else was good. I was pleasantly, I was looking forward to Losoya. Castillo was a very pleasant surprise. I didn't know what I was getting with Chase Mitchell, but these guys all have the body types and they fit the bill for their position. So I think, left to right, we got everyone playing the positions they need to be playing. So I think we're going to be good to go.
Yeah, the offensive line, at least the first five, and then they have some really good depth interior pieces as well. Chase Mitchell, back at his natural guard position, was forced to play out of position at tackle for a good amount of last year. I will say, after being at that scrimmage number 2, of course, Diego Pavia is the number one injury you cannot have happen, is Diego Pavia. Number 1, that cannot happen. Number 2 and number 3 are Bryce Henderson and Isaiah Glass. The depth at tackle concerns me a little bit. I think Mitchell would bump out there again, but that concerns me a bit.
I throw Jordan White ahead of both of those guys as concerns.
Not in talent. Not like Jordan White's the best offensive lineman.
He's your center, though.
Yeah, but I think that the backup at center will be McConnell, and the depth around them, like genuinely after Henderson and Glass, the drop off is insane at the tackle positions. Like it went from the offensive line getting the better of the defensive line to the quarterbacks did not have 1 second to throw the ball. They could not open up running lanes. The edges were just whipping the backup tackles in that scrimmage I saw. So I'm not saying that Jordan White wouldn't be detrimental, and they would definitely lose something because I think Jordan White is the best offensive lineman on this roster. But I don't think the drop-off from that position. I think they have somebody in Cade McConnell that can possibly step in and be okay in that center position. Not at Jordan White's level, but I think they can be okay if they lose Henderson or Glass. And you're the expert, Blake, so I'm just going to
say, may I make a counter argument to that?
I will say, to interrupt both of you guys, I don't have anything to add. Breaking news. Tomorrow after practice, I will be interviewing Bryce Henderson, and that will be on the TDR YouTube page, our exclusive one-on-one with strong tackle Bryce Henderson. Just got the news from Vanderbilt. Bryce agreed to it. Thank you, Bryce.
That's going to be an electric interview. Bryce Henderson is a great personality. Also, it's going to be incredible seeing him tower over you in a one-on-one interview.
Dude,
he is indescribably giant. He's bigger than
Issa. Yeah,
like a good amount bigger. Not a good amount, but he's bigger than Wataha. He is, in that interview, he's the only one that I've ever had to fully adjust the tripod to get him in the shot. He is a physical freak, like the mountain.
Yeah,
from Game of Thrones. That's what Bryce Henderson reminds me of. Like, he's the first guy you want to send off the bus. He will intimidate the hell out of some teams. We have a ton of questions to get to. I'm sorry, Blake. You're probably right about Jordan White. I'm just, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll save time and say I'm probably right on that.
Now back to the first question from VSFS 2017. And Blake, this is about me and Trevor's writing, but position preview / grading have been awesome reads. The grades are a little hard to judge, though. Could you compare position groups versus last year's teams? Just what groups you expect to be better / worse / the same?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Do you want to each do our own or just on what we've graded in terms? Because I've only done the trenches. So I'll just start off. I'll say with the offensive line. I think the offensive line will be better. Really at the tackle position, I think Glass and Henderson are huge upgrades at the tackle position. How much better? I don't know. Like we said, we've been at fall camp. It's hard for me personally to tell like how big the holes are in the running game whenever it's just thud. Just in what I mean by that is they're not taking guys to the ground. It's just you tap them on the hip and the runner is considered down. I will say I do think the defensive line does take a legitimate step forward. I think this defensive line is not going to be a liability. In fact, I think it'll actually be a serviceable offensive line. So those are the two that I wrote on. So
yeah, I mean, I wish that we would have. Well, we weren't signed with anybody, so that kind of makes sense. But we didn't have grades last year. Overall, this team's going to be better than it was last year. So a lot of the position groups, they return a lot of talent, and I'm going to generally say are going to take a step forward. Quarterback, I think, is basically going to be the same. I don't see a significant step forward from Pavia outside of just staying fully healthy.
yeah, it's like, how could he get much better?
Running back, I see the running back room maybe taking a slight step forward with the addition of MK Young. But it's the same guys coming back, and the key to that room is just staying healthy. If they stay healthy, they will take a step forward. The wide receiver room, they have potential to be slightly worse. I think they will take a step forward based on what I've seen. I was a big Quincy Skinner Jr. guy. I think he was probably the most undervalued piece of this offense last year. He's really good blocking on the outside, made some key touchdown catches. But Richie's looked really good. We haven't seen a lot out of Trent Hudson in fall camp. Tristan Brown looks pretty good. Linebackers, I think, will take a slight step forward. Everybody's back. Just going to be a year improved. Tight end, still an A+. I mean,
Best in the nation.
Yeah, it's just a great room. I haven't released the safety or the cornerback or the special teams. I think the special teams kicker will take a slight step forward. Brock Taylor getting another year of experience. I think punter will take a slight step back. Haber, I just don't think is quite to the same level as what Vanderbilt has seen in the last couple of years. Cornerbacks, I think, will take a step forward. It's hard to take a step back from being the worst pass defense in the country. I think safeties is a huge unknown. You lose a 4-year starter in CJ Taylor. So I'm going to say they could go either direction at safety. There's talent there, but losing to Ricky Wright and specifically losing CJ Taylor, it's hard to say definitively this room's going to take a step forward when you lost the leader of your defense in CJ Taylor.
We're not going to know until we see live game reps.
Yep. All right. A lot more questions here. What is this? From yet another door lawyer says, with the hype that this season is receiving, and not to be completely negative because I have my gold colored glasses on, just hypothetically, if Vandy does underperform 5-7 or 4-8, and not because of injury problems, does Clark Lee get fired for underperforming?
No.
Blake, do you have a different opinion on that?
No, I don't think he'll get fired. Vandy, I mean, we have the right guy at head coach who, when he gets successful there, he's going to stay. And he has Barton Simmons, he's building it out the right way. It's going to take some time, but, we fire him. First of all, can you find a quality head coach who's going to come to Vandy? Two, even if they're good, are they going to stay there? And the answer is no. So let's stick with Clark. I'm happy with what he's doing. I think he's doing a good job. I think he's got the right group of people around him. And he made the changes last year he needed to make and took a chance, and it worked. So I trust Clark. I mean, no one's going to work as hard as he is because this is his home. You're not going to get a coach working any harder than he possibly can and cares more than he does. So I'm sticking with him.
It'd be like if you took the Florida Gators job after Sunbelt Billy.
Yeah.
My God. You're becoming a Payton Thorne in my side.
I have to give it up.
Round of applause for that.
That
one.
was good. That's why we bring superstar Blake Fromang on the pod is for bits like that. Yeah, I don't want to exaggerate, but Clark Lee has the coldest seat in the entire SEC. I mean, he has to fall apart for multiple seasons consecutively to even have that seat get warm. Strictly for the reasons you said, Blake, is and I'm not saying it can't. I'm not saying if they went 4-8, 5-7, and then had another 4-8 season, his seat doesn't get hot. That, of course, can happen. But Vanderbilt having a guy that, to be honest, the caliber of Coach Clark Lee was coming out of Notre Dame as a DC is a guy that Vanderbilt normally would not get if Clark Lee was not from this area, growing up a fan, and was a former Vanderbilt fullback. They wouldn't have gotten him in the first place.
That's a great point that I think we forget. He was a Broyles finalist.
Yeah, number 2, Clark Lee is so unique in the fact he's not going to leave.
Mhm.
That's the most unique part. I think fans fully understand that and are willing to ride through tougher times with him now that he's shown success. Now that you've seen a season of success, you know he can do it. So it's like, I'm willing to ride with that guy.
And Will, he's got the guys in the building he wants. Our strength coach is great. He's got the staff around him he wants to, like, our position coaches are good. The offensive coordinator we all like. Steve Gregory is going to do a good job. Like, it takes time to build that when you fire and get someone new. It's an absolute shit show trying to get the people in the building you want to get in the building. So I think it'd be a terrible idea to fire Clark Lee. I really do.
That would be the first firing TDR's ever fully protested. We've always been the one calling for firings, never the one protesting firings.
Yeah, I would protest the firing of Clark.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question from Mr. Magoogs says, this is the last year with Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers and others. Do you see this as the window of opportunity to reach for more than 6 or 7 wins, or do you think the infrastructure is present and sufficient to continue to progress the program? I can argue both ways, and there are days where I wish that Vanderbilt had spent that extra $1 to $2 million on this year's roster just to ensure the window of opportunity we have right now, right this minute. Big areas where that could have helped would have been running back and wide receiver, although I just feel a little bit better about wide receiver now. Thoughts?
I think, and this might be a cop-out answer, I think that Vanderbilt has a real opportunity right now to get to that 8-4, 9-3, 10-2. Like, I don't think that is beyond reality. Do I think that Vanderbilt has that in terms of, like, can you expect that year after year 8-4, 9-3? I don't think so. But what I do think, I think Vanderbilt has done enough to where every year, every other year, you can expect to go to a bowl game. You can expect Vanderbilt to go 6-6, maybe then have a 5-7 year, 6-6, then every other year have a 7-5, teetering on 8-4. I think Vanderbilt has the infrastructure internally to make that a reality. In terms of, does Vanderbilt have the infrastructure to get to this pipe dream that is the college football playoff? No, I don't.
I mean, I agree with that. I think this is a unique window of opportunity to achieve those pipe dreams.
Yeah.
But I do think it is exactly what you said. I think as long as they can at least go 6-6, 7-5 this year, that they have changed the perspective on Vanderbilt football. And I don't mean to 65-year-old SEC fans, because who gives a fuck about them? I'm talking about the guys that are being recruited into this program that are 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. They don't view Vanderbilt as a joke of a program. And they have the opportunity to fully change that perspective. And then that's the infrastructure. They have the right people in the building, like Blake said. They seem to be investing more in athletics. Daniel Diermeyer seems to be, I don't know if the right term is bending the rules, but acting more like an SEC program, allowing guys in that might not have the elite academic standards.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the infrastructure is in place for Vanderbilt to be a competitive program. Now, all the stars aligning and achieving some pipe dream of, like what you're saying, this is the year to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. It's kind of in the middle there. Blake, you have anything different?
Yeah, I'm not going to repeat what you guys said because you covered most of it, you know, what my thoughts are. But in terms of do I wish they spent more money in the portal? To get some of these guys who are out there, we would have to pay a Vanderbilt premium on them and overpay them. And the problem is once you do that, that sets the market rate at Vanderbilt a lot higher than what these players' value actually is. And, you know, for future negotiations with players on the team and people we're recruiting in the transfer portal and in high school, they're going to say, you gave this kid with 500 yards, you know, on the ground, $400,000, $500,000, $1 million, or, you know, just decent stats, but not to warrant that. And then what do we say? Our negotiation leverage is gone there. So from a fiscal standpoint, I don't think it I don't think the return we'd get on that is worth us spending it and blowing up our own market.
I think that's a really, really
Yep,
good point.
That's a good point. And also, Vanderbilt retained everybody that they had last season. It's not like they let guys walk that they needed. And they also did bring in some pieces all on the way. So, yeah, of course, ideally, in an ideal world, I would love to see an extra $1 to $2 million spent on skill positions. But at the same time, exactly what you said, Blake, is 100% accurate. On to a slightly less intense question from JRob1742 says, thought daughter or Vol fan's son? So it's just so this is basically the classic thought daughter or gay son.
Give me a thought daughter over a Vol
yeah,
son.
Yeah,
Thought
thought
daughter
daughter
all
all day. She
Yeah.
can.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna read this one if there's any more. From Vandy Jr. 1 and 2. It says, I'm trying to decide what Vandy shirt to wear to the first game in Section F to commemorate my return. This is an important decision to me. It is much more important to look good than to feel good. Please take it seriously. Which do you suggest? Black t-shirt with gold. Does not match Vandy gold. B, Vanderbilt Hawaiian shirt with black/gold palm trees. C, NYC Mafia black and gold t-shirt picked up in Little Italy. I added Pavia to Mafia. D, black/gold. Do I look like an asshole? Do I look like a people person? I don't know what that means. DC shirt. E, no shirt. Be a member of the Pavia posse. Body paint, piss and Pavia on the chest. I'm going to go E.
Yeah, I'm going to go no shirt
Piss
as
and
well.
Pavia
Piss
on
and
the
Pavia on
chest.
the chest.
You got to
Yeah.
go E. Yep.
That's
yeah.
obvious.
Body paint.
Body painted up, baby. From McNulty Nash.
Don't paint the face, though. If you do it gold.
Jesus.
I mean, I'm helping him out here. I'm assuming that this poster is a white man. Do not do it on the face.
Yeah, gold. Gold
Oh.
only on the face.
Gold on the face.
I see what you're getting.
I'm trying to help him out here.
As your alleged attorney, I recommend you don't recommend blackface. So don't do that.
I would never ever.
Recommend we don't recommend. It's
Yeah.
a great quote too. Very lawyer quote from McNulty Nash 1. McNulty Nash 1, one of our favorites, says, "Hey guys, I'm looking forward to going to the Virginia Tech game to kick some hokey ass." There's a lot of asterisks, so I'm not sure exactly how that's phrased. Hey Trevor, I saw that you're going to the game as well. I was wondering if you guys are going to do a tailgate for that game. Looking forward to your season predictions. I'm thinking we go 8-4 with no major injuries, maybe 9-3 with a few breaks.
I am not going to the Virginia Tech game. I've also made it aware I'm not going to the Virginia Tech game. One of my younger brothers is getting married that night, so I will be in one of my younger brother's weddings. So he might be thinking of the Alabama game. I'm going to the Alabama game. Yeah, we can tailgate that. As for the Va Tech game, yeah, I will not be in attendance.
I will not be in attendance either, unless something changes. So glad you're going to be in attendance, but I will not be. Seems like he's more on your guys' side of the season record prediction.
Hell yeah, dude. Shout out Mark, my eternal
All right.
sunshine.
I like this question a lot. World's Strongest Vandy fan says, if you haven't heard this, Auburn just claimed 4 very old national titles in football. He says, in the wake of Auburn's claiming of 4 national titles, when do we hang the 1921 banner?
We should.
Soon.
We should.
This is the perfect opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
Auburn has broke the dam.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're going to get clowned whenever you do it, regardless, it's better to get clowned with a buddy.
Yeah.
So you're going to get clowned alongside Auburn, and then it's going to get lost in the shuffle, and then Vanderbilt's going to have a claimed national title. One of the years Auburn claimed one of those national titles, Vanderbilt was undefeated while Auburn had 1 loss.
Yeah.
Claim it. Just
claim it.
Get that monkey off the back. I don't know why Vanderbilt hasn't done that in general.
Yeah.
Claim it.
Well, and also it's like, oh, Auburn claimed all these old national titles. Ha ha, loser Auburn. Alabama, out of the 17 now? 17 national titles? One of those. Out of those 17, 5 or 6 of them are claimed national titles to where they didn't even finish with the best record. Alabama has done it. Tennessee has 6. I think 3 of Tennessee's 6 are also claimed to where they weren't even the number 1 team at the end of the season. I get it. I'm not trying to defend Auburn here. Oh, Auburn claiming these national titles. Guys, Alabama has done it with multiple titles. Tennessee's done it with multiple titles.
Vanderbilt has 6 unclaimed national titles.
Yeah, claim all
Claim
6.
them.
Claim
Screw
all
it.
6.
Who
Yeah.
cares?
They're gerrymandering. We'll gerrymander. Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Play the game. Let's do it. According to Wikipedia, always the best source of information you can possibly get. 1906, 1910, 1911, 1918, 1921, 1922. Hang the damn
Hang the banners. Yeah.
Let's do it.
And I'm not even joking. I'm being honest to God right now. No, for real. Like, claim those as national titles. Put something up.
Trevor, this is a good question for you as a what is it? Cinephile is the movie. Cinephile. Paramount Pictures greenlights a film called Rinaldi, celebrating the rise of Nick Rinaldi from walk-on to impact defensive player. Who plays Nick Rinaldi? Who plays Clark Lee? Who plays Diego Pavia?
Ooh, who asked this?
G-Barks.
Oh, dude, our boy George. What a great question. For Nick Rinaldi, I am going to go. There's going to be a severe height difference, but spoiler alert, all Hollywood actors are actually like 5'7". None of them are tall. So I am going to go for Nick Rinaldi. I'm going to go Zac Efron, and you're going to juice Zac Efron up like he was juiced up in Iron Claw. I think Zac would make a great Nick Rinaldi. For Clark Lee, I am going to go. So it's Clark Lee and who else? So Diego Pavia.
Yep.
Ooh, who do I? Diego Pavia. Who do I want for Diego Pavia?
Clark Lee, I'm thinking Tay Diggs, but
who?
Can I answer this one,
Tay
Trevor?
Diggs?
Yes, please. Who's Tay Diggs?
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah, of course. Tay Diggs. How Stella got her groove back, I think. He was in that one.
Please, Blake, help me out with Clark. That does not look
I'm
like
going a whole different cast than you. So you pick yours, I'll pick mine.
Okay, so I'll go Zac Efron for Nick Rinaldi. For Clark Lee, I'm going to go Stanley Tucci, but he's going to have to put on some size. He's going to have to put on some muscle. I'll go Stanley Tucci for Clark Lee. For Diego Pavia, I am going to go. He is not Hispanic, but I'm going to go Taylor Lautner. I think Taylor Lautner gets his break back by playing Diego Pavia.
see, the Clark Lee is tough because most of the actors I'm thinking of are probably too old to play Clark Lee.
I think Stanley Tucci, he's just got to put on size.
If you could go back, Ed Harris.
Ed Harris would be a great Clark Lee.
That was who initially, I had to look up the name, but Ed Harris is who I would have Clark Lee. I really like your Diego Pavia choice. Blake, do you have yours ready?
Yep. So I'm going for Nick Rinaldi. I'm going Tommy Wiseau from The Room.
Oh my gosh.
For Clark Lee,
Mark.
For Clark Lee, I'm going Mike Myers, Dr. Evil outfit. And for Diego Pavia, I'm going Gal Gadot. You need to snap the ball.
Eli, go deep.
Enough champagne to fill First Bank. Yeah.
We are going to win college football playoff.
So, yeah, Clark's ironically going to be the most charismatic person in the group of actors.
Jesus. That's a great question. I wish I had more time to really evaluate that.
Who
question.
plays Jerry Kill?
Probably Clint Eastwood.
No, I don't think so. I don't think Clint plays Jerry Kill. Oh my gosh. I'm blanking.
You want to do the guy from Succession, the old guy? Because
Brian Cox.
Jack Nicholson.
Shit to him.
I think Jack Nicholson would be a really good Jerry Kill. I think that's a good
I just
call.
watched The Departed, so
I think
that's why
Jack
it's in my head.
Nicholson would be a really good Jerry.
By the way, if you haven't seen The Departed, it's on Netflix. Incredible movie. I just rewatched it for like the 5th time. Every time it's damn good. Let's move on from movie references. We're not gonna answer that one because it's about baseball. Sorry, there's no baseball questions being read. Go to the Tennessean.
Is that about Vandy Boys again?
No, it's about the Reds.
Oh,
okay.
I love the Reds.
There's just a lot of questions. Vandy Jr. 1 and 2. The Cincinnati Reds are 1 game back in the wild card chase. In my lifetime, the Reds have won the World Series 3 times.
Thanks for
Given
bragging.
that they have never even won in the playoffs during your lifetime, and that you might beat the curse in that regard. What odds do you give the Reds to make it to the National League Championship Series this year?
0.
Should you continue to live?
This year, 0.
Said
No.
asking for Reds fans everywhere.
I think they could make the playoffs out of the wild card if the Mets keep shitting their pants, but yeah, no,
And
they're
then
not.
World's Strongest Vandy fan responded to that and said, "This user is volinquent." Confirmed.
That's a plot twist.
That is a
Plot,
plot
yeah,
twist.
dude, that's a M. Night Shyamalan type twist.
Bread 730 says, "What improvements are you looking for the most against Charleston Southern? Or what do you want to see in general week 1? Do you think we will have a Ball State come out flat type of game? Will be a definitive buzzkill if so? I think anything short of domination will be disappointing. We have came a long way since that ETSU loss, but I still have PTSD." We kind of talked about that already.
Yeah, I agree. Anything less than a drubbing is going to be disappointing.
Sorry, I'm reading through these questions. I need you guys to talk a little more.
Yeah, Blake. So, how do you feel about the Florida Gators this year? DJ Lagway having a couple of injury issues. Do you think Sunbelt Billy redeems himself?
It's on
I think
site
Jordan
when I
Ball at
see you
running
next.
back's really good.
It's on site when I see you next.
When are you going to see me next? I haven't seen you since Birmingham. I want to see you again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get any invites. You got a girlfriend now, so I don't get
Yeah.
any responses.
I do have a girlfriend who is I'm not going to share that personal information because I've actually had a talk with her and she's aware. So she listens to the pod and she found me through Twitter, and then I followed her on Instagram, and it's a whole long spiel. But she's aware of my personality. I will never ever say her name or post a photo of her on the pod or Twitter because I don't want to put her out in front of Vols fans. I have posted her on my personal Instagram that's private. But yeah, no, she's fully aware and she's on board that I'm not going to subjugate her to that type of.
All right, Trevor, you're a good guy. Blah blah blah. How'd you hit? What was your pickup line? What'd you use?
Yeah, so dude, so here, I'll tell it.
I love
We've
you.
been sort of like messaging back and forth for like a couple years, and I was always like, man, I'd like to date her. There's a little distance issue. I was driving back from the movies. I had just seen F1 in IMAX. And I, for some reason, just looked at her Instagram for like the 100th time since I followed her. And I liked one of her newest photos. That was like her newest photo, which was posted like 4 months ago. And so I was about to message her being like, yo, we should get coffee. But I'm driving down 24. So I'm like, okay, I'll wait till I get home to send it. Well, I still like the photo. So she sees that I liked it. She messages me and asks me to coffee. So technically she made the first move, but I argue that I really made the first move. But she did invite me to coffee. And I was like,
What kind of coffee did she order?
There's this really good spot in Germantown, my favorite coffee shop called Elegy. She ordered what's known as the Honey Bear, which is their signature drink. It is cold brew with a homemade honey concoction in it. It's really, really good. I got just a cold brew.
All right, Will, we got the next question. I can keep talking about Trevor's love life if you want.
We do have the next question.
She listens to the pod. She'll think it's funny.
Lovely lady.
Great
Run
lady.
away.
Don't run
Says
away,
this
please.
question is for all three of you to answer with your predictions in mind. Who is a player on each side of the ball that if they take a step forward, you see the record improving by 1 to 2 games? Thanks, men. Can't wait to see your beautiful faces in lot 2 from Vandylands 25.
Shout out to Vandylands 25. I'm going to go Junior Sherrill.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bryce Cowan. And then if Vanderbilt's going to take a step forward from what I'm expecting, then a combo of Trent Hudson and Trey Richardson need to actually be dynamic playmakers. And generally, there's just a lot on offense that I need to see.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. My prediction is fully based in I think the defense is going to be pretty damn solid. I just don't know if they've done enough this offseason to get explosive playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, which is what they were lacking. Like guys that can turn a play that maybe should have been a 12-yard, 15-yard gain into a touchdown or into a 40, 50-yard gain. I don't know. Trey Richardson is potentially that guy. He could just get lost in the shuffle with his size. I don't know.
I'm going to go Trey Richardson on offense as well. I think we need a home run threat, and he's the guy. On defense, I'm going to pick Dante Carter. We need someone to really step up and be that safety, especially on 3rd and long. And Dante, if you're listening to this, I'm happy your brother's cured now and he's doing all right. So
Shout out to Boo.
Glad to see that news.
A great family, the Carter family. Sweetest people in the world.
Yeah, we got to pick it up on these questions, though. We're over 2 hours. VandyFan95 says, no question. Just want to say that what an exciting time to be a Door fan. New stadium, exciting players, and legitimate optimism for football season, not to mention the other sports as well. We've come a long way since 2020. Cheers, fellas. Yes, we have.
Yeah, we have. I'll drink to that, brother.
That's my answer. Agreed. Next one.
Bear 8000 says, in spring 2024 and 25, we heard constant praise of Bryce Cowan burning the linebackers, and sometimes I think he means Bryson Coleman burning the linebackers and sometimes DBs in the passing game. Now, reading all the reports from this and the board, I've heard very, very little about him this fall. What's going on with him? How has he looked this fall? Will he be the big contributor if it appeared he was going to be in the spring, or is he injured and I missed that? He's injured.
I was actually about to cover my mic and be like, has that been made public? Because I forget.
Clark said he was working on it through an ankle issue. And Clark Lee expects him to be ready for week 1. He even said when he was asked about that, the most recent time he was asked, which was after scrimmage number 1, said he expects Coleman to be available towards the end of spring practice. But he's expecting him to be ready for week 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why you haven't heard anything about him. Your boy Cooper says, where are we sitting at the Natty?
Well, if they have a Section F, that's where we're sitting.
Yeah, if Vanderbilt goes to the Natty, I don't care if I have to mortgage every single item that I own in my personal life. I'll sell my new car.
I'll go into crippling debt.
It does not matter. I will. If Vanderbilt makes it to any high-level postseason play, I will pay whatever absurd price that I have to. It does not matter. What is money? We're in a simulation anyway. Money's not real.
Just print more.
Yeah. Mount Juliet Door says, a little concerning hearing Coach Clark Lee keep talking about how banged up guys are, particularly on offense. Is this overall a case of just being cautious and just normal cramps, bumps, and bruises? From what you've seen, will the offensive starters be ready to go for kickoff? One guy his tone has sounded really vague on is Trent Hudson. We've hardly heard / seen anything from him as projected wide receiver 2.
I'm trying not to. I swear to God, guys, I'm not trying to be vague. I'm just not sure what we can say without getting. I'll go out.
He's working through a soft tissue issue. That's what Clark Lee said.
But I was gonna say in general, like, I don't think you should be worried. I have not seen anything that would worry me. Fall camp is hard on the body. Blake can speak more to that. It's to be honest, it feels like a big nothing burger. If you want my honest opinion, as somebody who's been there, it feels like a big nothing burger.
Yep.
Yeah,
everyone's banged up in camp. Unless there's a 5-alarm fire and someone's out for the season, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last major question that we have. I'm just going to say that a lot of this feels Trent Hudson, this is not based on any inside information. I'm a little concerned about him being ready for week 1 with Charleston Southern. I think he will be ready for week 2 against Virginia Tech. I'm not sure they're going to push him for the Charleston Southern game.
I mean, there would be no need.
But I don't think there's a big concern about anybody. We can't speak. If there was, we can't speak on it, but no major injuries that would have me majorly concerned. Last question is specifically for me from Kodak Black and Gold. Says, Will, I need a week 0 lock. I'm going to be diving into my gambling. I had to do quite a bit of prep for this episode. So I'm going to be diving into my gambling picks tomorrow. So I will make separate threads throughout the year on the Behind Closed Doors message board with my picks for the season. We're going to see how this season goes. It's generally gone well for me overall in gambling. I think since I started gambling, totally legally, of course, in 2017, I think I've had one season that I've not been positive in the money. So I'm gonna post my picks. Hopefully, I'm not hyping myself up too much. But Vanderbilt last year certainly helped me with that, as I bet on the Doors money line, including the Alabama game. I bet on the money line a little more heavily than I should, as I woke up that day with a very weird feeling in my stomach, like we might fucking do it.
There was a weird vibe in lot 2 whenever that we were tailgating for that game. There was like everybody was like, man, we're not gonna win, but there was also a vibe of like, we might.
It
was weird. Weird.
I never DM players, never do. I looked at Pavia's Twitter profile recently, and I sent one DM to Diego Pavia ever before, and it was the morning of the Alabama game, and it said, shock the fucking world, is what I said. And right after that, I put quite a bit of money on the right before that, I had put quite a bit of money on the Vanderbilt money line. So Yeah, last year was a good year. That is all of the questions that we have for the premium message board. Thank you to everyone for posting those. Blake, Trevor, anything you want to say before we close out episode 329? It's been a beefy one.
Where's the college football playoff? Wherever it is, go ahead and buy your plane tickets to wherever that location is. Doors are coming.
To the boys in camp, heard this quote from one of my friends, Todd Hollis out of Pittsburgh. What's too tough for everyone else is just right for you. Finish this shit strong. Let's go get week 1 and get this thing rolling.
Fuck yeah.
That's a great way to close it out. Let's get this thing rolling. We are tired of talking season. We are ready for the action to get going on the gridiron.
Next week.
Next week. Week 0, actually, coming up in 4 days.
Yep.
We get real, live, actual college football. Granted, it is not the Vanderbilt Commodores, but we have week 0 of college football coming up this freaking Saturday. I'm jacked to the tits. I'm absolutely jacked to the tits.
Our long national nightmare of talking season is over. Next week, Charleston Southern preview.
The Charleston Southern preview is here next week. But for myself, Will Byrum, my co-host Trevor Hulan, and our very special guest and alleged attorney, Blake Fromang, this has been episode 329 of The Door Report, powered by 615 Collectibles.